If you can follow the 6 steps that I'm about to lay out for you, then you are basically guaranteed to generate at least 6 figures with your e-commerce business. Statistically, most people won't do this. They'll play around with it for a little bit and then they'll get bored or tired and move on to some new shiny object. That's why I've laid them out for you in an easy to read visual flowchart that we're going to walk through together so you can see them step by step and understand exactly how they fit into the overall picture. I made this because I'm personally a visual learner and hearing stuff just does not stick for me. This is how I internalize concepts, and one of the most important things is understanding how it fits into the overall picture. Like, why is site optimization, email, why are those things relevant to me growing and building a sustainable e-commerce business? And by the end of this video, we're going to get to phase 6, which is scaling. And this is the thing that everybody asks me about the most. How do I just grow to $2 to $3 million in sales? And the honest answer that I give people is that it starts way back here at the site optimization. So step 1 is site optimization, and you can think of this basically as how do we convert the most people possible that we get to our website. And I've listed out a lot of different things that we can do here, but at a high level, we just want to show people the information they need to make an informed buying decision in the simplest and most aesthetically pleasing manner possible. Basically cut out all the fluff, make it super fast, give them good looking pictures, and make it an easy checkout experience. That's basically what we want to do. And we always want to be viewing our websites through the eyes of the customer. So doing things like checking it on desktop versus mobile, checking our site load speed, making sure we have multiple payment options. And a great way to get inspiration for this is to look at your competitors' sites, see what they're doing and how their pages are laid out, and then see if there's any best practices or commonalities between them. Phase 2 is our email and SMS, which we can think of this as once we have somebody's contact information, somebody has come into our funnel, how do we make sure that we are capitalizing on that contact as much as possible? This is essentially plugging the holes of our funnel. You are absolutely blowing money if you launch an e-commerce store without having 7 or 8 email flows and sequences set up. The same thing with SMS. SMS is just easy money that's being left on the table if you don't have it set up. And then phase 3 is our marketing assets. So before we even sit down at the computer to make our first ad or try to drive any traffic, we want to make sure that we gather all of the assets that we need, as in the pictures, videos, ad copy, our offers, make sure that we have all of that stuff and it meets certain criteria to be good ad copy, good offers. As I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people who they just sit down at their laptop and they just start making random stuff in Ads Manager, and then a few days goes by and they're surprised when none of it performed that well. So we want to avoid all that by setting this stuff up first. And our most important asset, especially nowadays, is our pixel and our tracking to make sure that we actually are getting the right data that we need in order to make informed decisions. Then down here, I give you a tutorial on how to make ad creative, how we make some of the pictures that have scaled extremely well for us in ads. So you can follow this step-by-step tutorial and see exactly how I do it. And phase 4 is our Facebook campaign setup and testing. We can make a 3-hour class just on this, but what I am going to link you to is this retargeting SOP down here, which this is a 7-page document that's extremely detailed, shows all the audiences, everything you could possibly need to set up. It's listed there in step-by-step format. So at a high level, we have cold, warm, hot, and repeat buyer campaigns. Vast majority of people, when they start running ads, only do this type of campaign here, which are people that have never heard of us before. They don't take the time to set up people that have heard of us but not bought, warm, people who have abandoned checkout or abandoned cart, which is our hot campaigns, and then people who have already bought from us and are our repeat customers. That's this audience here. We want to set up campaigns for all of them. The majority of our budget would be in the cold campaigns, but having all of them set up is paramount to our overall success. And one of the biggest questions I get asked is, how much money do I need for a testing budget? And honestly, nowadays, just a couple $100 is more than enough. Because if within the first $100 to $200, if you're like selling t-shirts, for example, you should definitely have your first sale. And if you don't have your first sale, then you should be pausing your ads and reevaluating and seeing what your next step forward is. And phase 5, my personal favorite, is our analysis, which the analysis is after we've spent a couple $100 on ads and we want to see what's working. So over here we have the terms that we need to understand in order to really look at our analysis. And then here is a calculation for our ROAS. Then down at the bottom are our target metrics, and these should just be used as helpful benchmarks. These are not by any means true for every industry or product, but in general for the $40 to $50 average carts that I've been selling, these are the numbers that I've aimed for in the past. That's worked out pretty well. And then the part that most people get the most benefit out of is the troubleshooting your performance here. People come to me and say, Chris, my ROAS is super low. What do I do? First question I always ask is, what's low? What out of the equation that makes up our ROAS that we see here? Is it the cost per click? Is it the conversion rate? Is it the average order value? And then, okay, if they say it's the cost per click, then I look down here and I see high cost per click. The reason for that is that it's either high CPMs or low click-through rate, because CPMs is the cost per impression, then click-through rate is out of those impressions, how many people are clicking. And then if I see, oh, it's high CPMs, then that means I need to test new creative, make more engaging ads, or test larger audiences. Or better offer would be another good one to include there. So if you take one thing away from this video, it's that even if you get 0 sales or your performance is terrible, there's always something to be learned from the data you've gathered. You can always see if it's the click-through rate or the CPM, or just start to learn this. And this is by far the most valuable skill that I've learned in 6-7 years of doing this, that can be applied to any industry. It doesn't matter if it's e-commerce or consulting or software. Learning this skill will be invaluable in the future because it allows you to take seemingly a loss and turn it into a positive. And moving on to the 6th and final phase is scaling. Prerequisite for this is that we got to the point where we're putting in $1 and making $2 to $3 back. So we're spending $10, making $20 to $30 back on our ads. Now the goal of scaling is scaling up. How do we turn that into $1 million in, $2 to $3 million back? And unfortunately, it's not just as easy as increasing your budget to $1 million. That would lead to you losing a lot of money. But there are ways to do that incrementally that I break down in the scaling section. But scaling is at a high level, you can think of it as just how do we maintain our account's performance and stability at a consistent return at higher scale. So basically, how do we get the same return at higher volume? That's all that it is. The thing you need to understand for that to happen is how these algorithms work, is that there are days where it'll go up and it'll go down, and some days your ads will do great, some days they'll do terrible, but you need to learn to look at the averages. And the way you can really scale nowadays is with incremental increases. So 10 to 15% increases in your budget every 2 to 3 days is a great way to go. You can go far more aggressive, which is what I have mapped out here with vertical scaling, where you double every time a budget is doing well every 2 to 3 hours, and then you reset it at night. It's an extremely aggressive way to do it. But what I recommend doing nowadays is just 10 to 15% every 2 to 3 days, as long as the performance has been doing well. CBO, open targeting, and just give it a plethora of different ads and creative to play around with, and have a testing campaign set up where it's learning all the time and you're always finding new winners to plug in as soon as your current creative gets exhausted. And down here, I give you an example of the ad automation logic that I used to run. I was basically watching for anytime performance slipped up or was performing, then I would increase the budgets or duplicate the ad sets. And you don't have to set this up as an automation. You can just do this manually and just learn from it, but that's another tool in here for you to use. There you have it. There's the quick overview of the site optimization, email and SMS, marketing assets, campaign setup and testing, analysis, and scale. The place you can get this board is by going to chrisheckman.org/Miro, and this is a free tool for you to use, and it links to all the different stuff throughout here. And as we wrap up, last thing I want to say is that vast majority of people will get hung up at the first phase of this, which is the site optimization, the email. All of that stuff feels boring, and a lot of people just skip over it and try to get right to the products, to running the ads, because that's exciting. Having profitable and successful ads really starts with the first 3 steps of this process. It starts with the site optimization, the email, and gathering your assets, and just putting the focus on getting to profitability. $1 in, $2 to $3 back. My final advice is don't skip over the easy stuff or the boring stuff. That's like really the most important stuff at the end of the day. But again, chrisheckman.org/Miro. You can grab this for free, and I hope this has been helpful. And leave a comment in the comment section below if you have any questions or there's anything I can do to help you. I'm here for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.